Hi, welcome back to Adapting Health, and today we're going around Fewston Reservoir, or at least we intended to, but we ended up going around Swinsty Reservoir, which are right next to each other and equally reservoir-y. So once we got into the car park for Swinsty Reservoir, it was unclear where the blue badge spaces were, in that when you drive in, there's one accessible space, and I was like, oh, okay, that seems a bit weird. But then it turns out that one's exclusively for the use of the accessible bathroom, which, by the way, doesn't have a lock on the door, nor does it have a sign about that, which is fine. I'd rather the accessible toilet were available whether or not it has a lock than being out of order just because it doesn't have a lock. But it would be nice to have some kind of sign so you can maybe tell the person or people you're with to say, hey, can you look out for me so someone doesn't walk in on me? But alas, that's not what they've done. But it, otherwise, a fine bathroom. There you go. Within the first minute, we've got a bathroom review. How fun. Anyway, so the pathway is very accessible so far. You could do this with a wheelchair, and I'd advise some kind of front wheel attachment, be it free wheel, front wheel, whatever. I personally wouldn't have managed it on my own, but I know plenty of people who would, and it wasn't muddied really, and absolutely fine. Just a nice time. Go past a big hall and generally good. To get around Swinsty Reservoir, it was about 5 kilometres and took us about an hour and a half, because it's not all like this, unfortunately. Or perhaps it is and we just went the wrong route, but the way we went, not entirely accessible. But anyway, this bridge is pretty good because it's got that nice path on the side, which makes it a lot more wheelchair friendly. I saw someone using a more high need chair and they seemed like they were doing pretty well. But they also may have turned around because I couldn't figure out the circular walk. And also I didn't ask them, so can't really say. Given the access so far, I was quite confused that the speed humps didn't have an accessible route around. I kind of expected a little bit of tarmacking or something so you didn't have to go over the humps, but you do. Anyway, I never finished the parking situation. So there's one accessible space by the bathroom, great. And then you need to move, if you were to use that bathroom, to then go around, and then there were, I think, 6 accessible spaces, all of which were fine, until people started parking in the middle of car parking spaces that aren't car parking spaces. And then if you had a wheelchair accessible vehicle, I don't really know how you would get in or out, because these parking people were being very inconvenient and rude. But it was fine on the day, and the wheelchair accessible vehicle I did see managed. So yeah, that's something, I guess. So now we've come up to the end of what I think is the wheelchair accessible route. On the right there, it says it is wheelchair accessible, but it seems quite narrow. We didn't really explore it because our dog is a bit older and this is about his capacity. So one reservoir is enough for us, at least at the moment. Anyway, so we went down the path that we thought was good for us. Turns out it's not accessible according to the signage. It is technically accessible if you can do a fairly big hill, which is at the end, and just there was a little bit too hilly for me. But yeah, so if you had a mountain trike or something like a hybrid, you could do this. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to other people who aren't prepared for a very big hill. This path is also kind of narrow in places, absolutely fine for a wheelchair, but when it's busier like it was on this day, it just is a bit tight, especially compared to the previous path. And just to mention, when we turned into this pathway, there was also a big car park, so it also just reconfirms my confusion in that I don't know where the other path was. I guess it must have been the narrow path, but I really couldn't say for sure. We'll have to go back at some point. And here we go up the really big hill, and you can see our dog. And it just keeps going. And then it comes out to a road, just confirming that's not very accessible, and it's quite a blind corner, so you have to kind of maybe have other eyes that can look over the bridge. And then it's just over the bridge, across the road again, back, and then up another hill that I'd need help over, and then we're back. Thanks for watching, see you next time, bye.